Okay, there's not really any good videos on YouTube that actually show how to set the pitch on these GSC props, so I thought I'd make a video today, maybe help somebody out. I've yet to do that. I've read the instructions, so as I go through this process, I'll start my video and stop it and whatnot. But so far, I mean, you can do it two ways according to the instructions. You can do it laying flat on the table, and it's preliminary, of course, and then once you get it mounted on the plane, then you can double check it and make sure. The one thing I've done is I've got the blades installed, so it says what you can do is take the gauge that comes with it and you can set it on your table, and as you can see, it's on 0. Then you slide it onto your blade, the curved part up, and then it just hangs down, and you can see it's about 14. I think about 13 is where it needs to be, but for right now I've got it on 14. Both blades are set on 14. So now I'm going to go ahead and install it on the plane, and then I'll get back with you. Now that the prop's been mounted on the engine, the gearbox flange, the main thing is to once you get it mounted loosely, then check your pitch again, and once you're satisfied with that, you need to make sure that the tips are in line, and I'll show you what I mean with that. Once you get it put together, you'll notice if you grab the end of the prop out here, you can actually move the prop in and out. So once you get it snug down, you get your pitch set, you get it snug down, you got to make sure your gaps are the same on both sides, and then what you want to do is you want to tighten your bolts in a cross pattern. Here, 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 you know. So now the tracking, as far as the prop tips go, so what you want to do, the first thing you want to do is make sure that your ignition is off. Anytime you're hand propping, now mine, I've got it to where my ignition switch is in the up position. It means that my coils are dead. Even though the ignition switch could be turned on, it doesn't matter. If those are in the down position, that means it's ready to run. So you got to make sure your magnetos or your coils are off before you start hand propping this engine over. So now that you'll notice that it's probably 1/8 of an inch. So what I'm going to do is very carefully, and you got to make sure that your plane can't roll back and forth, or you'll mess this whole thing up. So the best thing to do is reach up here to, like you were going to hand prop it. I don't trust sticking my head inside of a prop's rotation. So I'm going to ease this down. I'm going to grab up here again, and I'm going to bring this down. And as you can see, pretty much the same thing. So now I can go ahead and initially tighten up my prop bolts in a cross pattern, and then I'll torque them down, then I'll tighten these outside ones back up, and then I'll be able to run my engine. I'll check my pitch one more time before I tighten these up, and then we'll see where we're at. One more note, now that I've got the prop mounted on the engine, I was going to show you how this gauge works that they send with the prop to set your pitch. What I did was I zeroed it out on the flat part of my hub, as you can see, and then I set the white part on 0, okay, and then I bring it out here and I slide it onto my prop. The good thing about this little gauge is it's predetermined. It will only slide on there so far, and that is a predetermined distance between the prop center and out here to get the pitch. This go around, it's right at 15. The other side is the same, so I'm going to leave it at that and just run it for the first time and see what I have, and we'll go from there. see from the video, I've pretty much nailed it at 5,400 RPMs. I said 53 to 5,400 static, which means tied off, it's not flying. So anyway, I had to adjust the pitch only one time. I originally started off at 15 degrees, and obviously that was allowing my engine to go have way too many RPMs, go way above the 5,400. So I adjusted it, and you have to loosen all your bolts back up, and then these things aren't easy to twist. So I ended up with 21 on one side, and I eventually got the other side to 21 degrees, and then you've seen from the video that's where I left it, and retorqued everything, started it up and ran it. And then when I shut it off, I went and got my torque wrench again and went ahead and torqued them again, and then they had loosened up a little bit, so I retorqued them, and they should be good now. Recommendation, I think, on that GSC sends out is 75 to 100, 75 minimum to 100. So I split the difference and went 90. So all right, the temperatures look good. Didn't have to touch the carburetor as far as the exhaust gas, and even with the shroud, the free air shroud, temperatures never even came close to getting too hot. So everything looks good. I'll go back over everything now that it's ran and see if there's anything loose, and just continuously go over everything over and over until I get the wing situation figured out. One more quick note, the torque on these are in inch pounds, by the way, not foot pounds, so those are inch pounds. Wanted to show you the different things I tried to use, just to give you guys, if you didn't have one of these GSC protractor systems they got, thought about using one of these. I also have a angle cube. It is a digital setup that Paraffin uses, or they sell it to adjust the pitch on theirs. It's very, very accurate, and you can zero it, and so anyway. But as you can see, guys, there's not a good surface. See, it wants to rock back and forth. There's not a good flat surface on that. So even used a digital protractor app that I put on my phone, and there's just not really any way to do that. I mean, I guess there is, but you're really not going to beat this. If you do not have this little protractor that they send out with their props, you just almost have to get one, because that fits it so snug and it's perfect. It fits it perfect, and it's the same spot every time. So anyway, that's all I got.